Hey y'all, how's it going? It's Ben with Whitetail Hollow Farms, and today we're taking a look at my John Deere 346 Square Baler. So I got this Square Baler about 3 months ago at auction for I think $750. Didn't do too bad on it, I don't think. I'll let y'all be the judge of how I did on price after I give y'all a look at it. So I know virtually nothing about square balers or their operation or anything like that. As far as I can tell, they're a lot more complicated than your average round baler, but they're a lot cheaper. It seems like there's a lot more mechanisms and moving parts in order to actually make a square bale. In my area, square bales are a lot more marketable, so I decided to go ahead and get this thing, dive into it, and find out what problems we've got with it. So after a first glance at this thing, I identified two problems. One, which I fixed with just a couple of wrenches and some monkeying around with some stuff. This flywheel here, which keeps the momentum on the baler while it's running, was a little bit loose. It was wobbling back and forth, and now I've got it pretty much rock solid. It doesn't move at all. All that was wrong with it was this nut and bolt right here was a little bit loose and wasn't holding it down tight. I ended up taking this entire thing off, checking the wing nut under here, checking the bearing. It was all in good condition, so slapped it back together and tightened up this nut and bolt. This flywheel is ready to go and fixed. This slip clutch right here is not in the best of shape. Whole lot of wobble in action. I actually found the part to fix this on greenbalerparts.com, and it's actually a better version than the OEM, so I'm gonna order that. It's $180. We'll get that fixed up and hopefully be back in business pretty soon. I don't want to run it any more than I already have because I don't want to mess up the splines and then have to pull the whole gearbox apart. That's just going to be a massive repair bill. It's probably going to cost more than the actual baler cost. So I'm not going to mess with this thing at all until I can get that slip clutch repaired. One of the other noticeable problems that I saw with this thing is the feeder fingers are a little bit loose here. Well, very loose. From what I understand, these are bushings right here that need to be either replaced or tightened down. So I'm going to have to take a look at those, see what we have for options on that to get this tightened down, because all this back and forth movement everywhere is just going to end up causing an issue. I already know it. As for everything else here, these are all in pretty good condition. All these gears are pretty solid. Most of the chains don't have too much slack in them. The only gear that I noticed that has any play is this one, and it's honestly not bad enough to me in order to do anything to it. Under the hood, it's in pretty good shape as well. The only thing that I've found here is this spring has broken and somebody patched it back together. I'm probably going to leave that patch because this looks like it's a pain in the butt spot to get to. And once it finally breaks, I'll end up fixing it. Hopefully that doesn't happen when we're in the middle of a field project with this thing, because that would not be a fun day pulling this whole thing apart in the middle of the field to try and fix it. I also noticed that the auger is a little bit all over the place with this thing. I'm not really sure why. It's got a little bit of wobble in it. I'm not sure if that's normal or not, but it probably just needs a new bearing here in the end, and that probably won't be the end of the world, so maybe we will end up replacing it. But we're gonna hook up to this thing, haul it over to the barn real quick and pressure wash it off, get it nice and clean. That way I can work on it without getting really dirty. I know I'm already gonna get greasy and everything else. No point in letting mildew sit on the thing when it can be cleaned up easy. It looks like the last owner was nice enough to leave me a bunch of rusty bolt and old OEM parts, some oil, and a Craftsman wrench. Wonder if I can go back and get this thing replaced for a nice new one with the warranty. Either way, let's get this thing cleaned up, and then I'll give you a rundown of how much I think it's going to cost to get this thing back up and running. Alright y'all, now that I'm all covered in dirt, let's take a look at how we did. Didn't do a whole lot but knock all the mold and mildew off of this thing, which was the main goal, so that we weren't working in all that mold and mildew anymore. There's a couple things that still need to be cleaned up on this that are gonna have to be cleaned up after it dries, like this toolbox. It's full of rust and garbage and old nuts that have just fallen apart, so that's got to get cleaned up still with a vacuum. And the twine box here, I've gotten it cleaned up for the most part. Need to get some paper towels and a brush and get in here and clean up some of the dirt and nastiness. It was full of spider webs before and had spiders living all in it. We'll get that all cleaned up. So let's head back to the house. I'll give you all a comprehensive review of what it's going to take and money and parts to fix this thing and make it perfect condition to run in the field again. I'm pulling out the gate and heading back to the house. I don't know if the camera's gonna pick this up, but look at that color there. That is just amazing how red and orange that is. We get some of the most beautiful sunsets out here. All right, y'all, so I'm editing the video now and just realized that I forgot to include this section where I talked about what all parts we're gonna need and how much it's really gonna cost. So I'm gonna order from greenbalerparts.com. That's mainly because I would prefer to order online, and our local John Deere dealer is just not the best group to deal with when it comes to getting parts for stuff like this. And greenbalerparts.com actually has a couple of aftermarket parts that they've customized and made a lot better than OEM, and they really know their stuff about these balers. Again, I'm not sponsored by them, just putting it out there who I'm getting these parts from. So our first thing that we have to get, I'm going over just the essentials this video. I think I can squeeze by for a little while on some of the other parts. My budget right now isn't too big for getting this thing running, but I think we're gonna bite the bullet and get what we need right now. The first thing that we're gonna get is the new updated slip clutch center. So Green Baler Parts has custom made one that has gotten rid of the original John Deere spacer and gives you some more grip. So we're gonna get that. That comes out to a whopping $179.99. So that's the first thing we're gonna need. Our next step is going to be getting that auger fixed. After looking at it a little bit more, I don't think I'm really comfortable with leaving it the way it is. I don't want to rip something up. So we're gonna go ahead and get the new bearing for that. That comes out to $144.99. And the last part that we're going to need is the bearings for the feeder finger forks. You noticed how those were all wobbly. I don't think tightening them up is going to do anything. I think they're just done and over with. I might mess around with them a little bit before I order just to make sure, but I'm probably just going to end up ordering some new ones. Those come out to a whopping $49.99. So that brings our overall total to $374.97, not including shipping, which it looks like is going to be around $60 because a lot of those parts weigh a lot. So we're going to sit down, decide if we really need to order these right now. I'd like to get it done, but we don't know if it's in the budget. Maybe once we start making some money off the round baler and getting some round bales sold this spring, it might be a project that we can look into. If we can't afford it right now, we just have to look at the financials and see if it's worth spending the money on a square baler at the moment. I'm sure there's a couple other minute things on the square baler that need to be looked at over time, but right now they're just not something that we can really afford. So we're just getting the essentials working on it. I still don't know if the knotters even work properly, so we need to check those out as soon as we get these other parts in and make sure that we can tie a bale without an issue. Appreciate y'all taking a look at my cheap old baler that I got from auction. If you're interested on a round baler, kind of the same situation, I've got a couple of videos up of my $350 round baler that I got at auction. It's a Vicon RP1210. If you click up top, there's going to be a little button there to go watch a video for that. So be sure to check it out. Leave a like on this video and subscribe. I appreciate everybody watching.